Hello, good morning, welcome to New Forest Morphs. It's Monday morning, Jared's with us in the facility. How was your weekend, Jared?
Nice, yeah, it was good.
Good, yeah, we had a lovely weekend. Lots going on. Had a couple of families come and visit the facility, and we had our pickup girl that came, and Simon came from Collective Serpents, or Serpents.
I think it's the Serpent Collective.
The Serpent Collective. And he very kindly drove all the way down from Northampton, Jared. It was a good 3.5 hour journey. And he came into the facility to see our collection, and he was very inspired and impressed with what we're doing here. So thank you, Simon, for coming down. And we put the beautiful animal into quarantine. Now what he's brought with us is a pastel double het desert ghost clown. That is a proven breeder. It gave him 7 eggs. They're due in the next couple of weeks, Jared. So he's getting excited because there's a prospect of him hitting a desert ghost clown visual, which is really good. He paired the girl to a desert ghost clown boy, and therefore there's a 1 in 4 chance of him hitting his pastel. And I think the boy is het hypo as well, so he's got the chance of getting hypo into his babies. So super excited for him. And out of 7 eggs, he might hit 2 desert ghosts clowns, Jared, which would be fantastic. And if one of them proves to be het for hypo, that would be a great building block for him going forward. So we both looked at our collections and discussed how we can perhaps help each other going forward, Jared. And he also studied as an accountant, funny thing was. So we spoke about that and the services that we provide. And no, it was a really lovely meeting. I'll just show you the video of the snake that we've put into quarantine. And here we go, Jared, if I just show you that. Simon came from Serpent Collectives yesterday, Jared. Had a lovely time with him. And he's brought with him our latest pickup, which is a pastel double het desert ghost clown. That's a proven breeder girl. Gave him 7 good eggs, and she's in quarantine right now, so just checking temps and checking that she's in good health. And she looks to be really good. A strong animal, Jared. Are you happy with her?
Yeah, she's nice.
Yeah, she's lovely. So I had a lovely meeting with Simon, so thank you for coming down, really appreciate it. And we'll give you a shout out on today's video. There we go, so there she is, and she's recovered really well. And he also gave me her breeding record as well, Jared, so I asked for that too, because it's important to know where the girls have gone, what they've achieved. And if I can show you that, Jared, he keeps a spreadsheet, and I'll just show you some of the information. So that's his, I mean, you probably can't see it, but there's a little spreadsheet there. I think if I click on it, I might be able to blow it up a little bit.
You've done it sideways, does it flip?
Sideways doesn't flip, so I'll just blow it up and show you. So you can see that he's got that's the pairing, so that's what he had. So that's the girl.
Double het desert ghost clown to a desert ghost clown het hypo.
That's right. And then you can see here female and male. She was CB22, so she's literally 2 years of age. And he was feeding her Maltese every week, Jared. And he said he never goes above 60 gram Maltese, but he gives them a weekly meal. And she was building and wanting it, and the follicles built. And now you can see the way it went. If you look at 11th of Feb, 1 out of 1 lock is the locking. And then underneath there, you can see it was 13 mil in February this year, because of the size of her follicles. And then a month later, he measured the follicles, and they only went up by 3 mil, which is understandable. So 3 mil growth a month. And then that was on the 4th of March, so you're looking at nearly a month each month. Then on the 2nd of April they went up to 17 mil. And then on the 30th of April they went up to 20 mil. So you can see the exponential growth with the follicle development. And then on the 29th of March they went up to 26 mil. And this is where the big growth starts to occur. And then on the 24th of June, you can see there 40 millimeters is where she went, and that's the average size egg before they actually go into ovulation. And she ovulated on the 3rd of July, so literally a couple of weeks later, ovulation. And on the 17th of July she gave us what they call the pre-lay shed. So that's the shed before she lays, and then she actually was expected to planned to lay the eggs on the 17th of August. But actually she laid her eggs on the 14th of August, which was just 3 days earlier. and she gave 7 good eggs, no slugs, and that's the update up to the 9th of October. So anyway, the 9th of October is probably the date that he's got in there that they will start to pip. So they're due any moment now, really.
Yeah.
What date are we on now? 7th. So they're due in a couple of days. So we want to wish Simon all the best with this one. And he's got some fantastic genetics in his collection, some really wonderful genetics, and we've kind of compared each other's collections and realised that we could work together going forwards, because I explained what we're doing with our Desert Ghosts, with all the incomplete dominants that are going in there. And I think we can actually probably trade each other's snakes, maybe buy and sell one another's snakes. So it's very important to build relationships like this, Jared, to be able to work together going forward. The other thing I found interesting is that he was interested in the software that we use for accounting and tax, and we use software called Xero, and I sent him the link for that software. And if I can just get that out and just show you what we've got here. So these meetings are useful. So you can see there, that's the Xero software that we use, and I recommended that he goes and plays with the dummy. So what they've got is Xero will give you the chance to play with the software.
A demo.
It's a demo, isn't it? And you can put in a dummy company and play with the transactions and get familiar with it. And the other thing that he did for me was he told me about someone he's using in the UK to do shed testing, which turns around the shed test within a week.
Wow.
And I think it's Danny, and they'll give him a shout out. So it's called Shedding UK. Shed Testing UK is the name of the business, and you can see that our new fans are kicking in, Jared. I think you can override that, can't you?
Yeah. Turn it off,
Yeah.
you guys, quick.
Yeah.
Before your ears get wrecked.
Yep.
They come back down.
So I think that meeting went really well, Jared, and we've got a good friendship building there. So it's all about, and he's invited us to his facility in Northampton when we go up, and he's got some other snakes besides ball pythons that he is into the venomous as well, and he helps out with the venomous collection, and he's got some seriously beautiful snakes, Jared. But he's a lovely guy, and go give him a follow or shout out. And the other meeting I had this weekend was with a beautiful new family recommended by Jim from the museum in Bournemouth. And I was talking about that last month. We talked about how important it is to build local relationships. And he had one of his families come in to see him, and they were looking for a ball python. And they went to one of the local ball python pet shops, and they weren't turned on by any of the morphs. And so Jim said, look, if you go to New Forest Morphs, go and visit them in their facility, have a look at the candy that they've got. And I kid you not, Jared, and this is one of the reasons why we're in this hobby, is this lovely family with a young man who's only 10 years of age. Young Harry came in, and it was like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Honestly, it was just seeing the light in his eyes as I showed him the morphs, and he's never handled a snake before, so he started touching the snake. And then at the end of the 1.5 hours we had together, they went through and looked at the collection and showed them some of our best holdbacks. And the one that they've gone for, Jared, is this guy here, which I think Ellie named Little Piddler, because when Ellie was in...
Millie.
Yeah, Millie. Sorry, Millie. When she was in, she was holding this snake, and it peed on her all over her t-shirt. So she decided to name it the Little Piddler. But they've put a deposit on this snake. Now this is a beautiful Orange Dream banana, and we'll bring this out because Harry is watching our YouTube channel with his father and mother, and I thought I'd just give you an update on this beautiful snake. So he's gone for this one, Jared, and
It's a good choice.
I think it's a good choice. They've gone for a Viv, and they've asked us to help them set up the Viv. So what we're going to do is we're going to later source a Viv for them and all the setup. Spoke about cocoa husk, Jared. They like the idea of using cocoa husk. One of the dilemmas they have is that it's going to go in Harry's bedroom, and Harry needs to sleep at a certain temperature. And when they were asking about ambient temperatures, and I said we like to have it at 78 in here, obviously that might be too hot for Harry to sleep. So we've come up with another solution to be able to provide the right temperatures for the snake without kind of getting too hot in the bedroom. And it's basically using 2 heat mats. So you'd have to have 2 heat mats and 2 thermostats, one on each of the side. So one will be for the hot spot and one for the slightly cooler spot, and therefore you can regulate the temperatures by using 2 heat mats without necessarily banging in a lot of heat into the bedroom if it's going to be too uncomfortable to sleep in.
Belly heat's the main thing they need. So.
Yeah. And the reality is that in most bedrooms you're still looking at probably 65 degrees anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be a major issue. And I think by having a 2 mat approach would be great. 2 hides, a cool hide and a hot hide, I think would be the way to go, Jared. But this is the one that Harry fell in love with, and he handled it by himself, which is really good. And what we've offered also is they're going to come back. They're on holiday as well for the half-term holidays. So what we said, we'll hold on to it until Halloween, and they'll come up during the Halloween week. They'll pick up the snake. We'll set up the Viv in here for them and show them how to set it up. And they'll take the snake and the Viv home with them, and it'll be a plug and go, Jared. So once we've got everything working correctly here, we could probably maybe make a video and show people how to set up a Viv. Might be a good one to do, Jared. Actually buy and source all the materials, agree the price with the client, make sure they're happy with the pricing, and then we'll put it on the YouTube, show you how we build up our Vivs, and then they can pick up the snake with the Viv all ready to go, and that'll make life easier for people coming into the hobby for the first time. But I think Harry certainly enjoyed all the candy, and his father also and his mother enjoyed the experience, Jared. And I did, to be honest with you. I quite enjoyed it, and I think this is one of the reasons why we get into the hobby. Is it's just such a beautiful experience to bring an animal or a reptile into a family to be able to enjoy, and just to me it's just so exciting to see them get excited. It kind of refreshes me a little bit and keeps me motivated and remind me why we're in the hobby and why we're in the business, Jared. And if it brings that much joy to people, I think it really does keep us motivated and make us realise just how many precious snakes we've got here. And I think when I was pulling out all the colourful snakes, it just dawned on me just how beautiful the creations we're making here, Jared, compared to maybe some pet shops that might be just presenting a pastel or normal looking snake. They don't necessarily have the full range of what we've got going on here. So I think it's actually quite nice to be unique in that sense, but also to personalise it. People can come into the facility and enjoy being in the candy shop, if you see what I'm saying. So I think I am becoming Willy Wonka, or Wonky Willy, whatever Millie wants to call me. But I've got a real walking stick, and if I do a roll, Jared, I'll be rolling with a bad hip. It's not going to be fake. So I think that's good. Now, Jared, you've picked up some other things here. So let's talk about what you've picked up over here and why you've picked it up. So we've actually got...
What are you talking about?
So you've picked up the new drawers that you've picked up, I think. Yeah,
it's not exciting. Yeah. It's just a storage unit, because we had everything in rubs before, but I've just got a storage drawers so we can keep all of our stuff in it. Nothing too exciting. Yeah. Just little upgrades.
Yeah. Now I think because we had a big feeding session last week, I think we haven't cleaned yet. I've got to pop out and get a new gas central heating unit for my radiator. My plumber's over here trying to twig our gas plumbing at the moment. So Jared and I haven't cleaned yet, but so normally we would be showing you loads of snakes. We can still show a few snakes, but
they might be dirty.
If they are dirty, forgive us. We've not started the clean. I'm doing the video first. I've got to pop out and get a couple of radiators. Jared's going to do the cleaning today. Payback time for the weekend's shift that I put in, Jared. But you've got the coca husk and everything's going well. So what we'll do then is we'll just talk about the breeding, because the people are starting to breed at the moment, Jared. We've got great humidity at the moment. We've had lots of rain this weekend, and there are some projects that I would like to get going on, but obviously we're still wanting to get confirmation on sheds. But there are some that we could go ahead and do. For example, this boy here, Chuckles, we could put to one of his 2 girls. Now, we know that he is 100% het for Ultramel. And if we just bring him out, Jared, and let's see how he's doing. So he's doing really well, isn't he beautiful? So if we wanted to, we could put him with one of the pairs to see whether he'll lock, but the time to do it would be of an evening rather than now. So my thoughts are, we'll have a look at it, inspect him for health, make sure he's good to go. So as we look at him, Jared, he looks very healthy, doesn't he?
Yeah, from a glance, absolutely.
And we look at the cloaca, make sure he's clean there. I think you've already checked him for sperm plugs, Jared.
Yeah, he's got sperm.
So we know he's carrying sperm. We know that he's carrying the Ultramel. And I think
squeaky clean.
He is squeaky clean, so we would normally check to make sure there's no RI issue here. So we'll just have a little look at him and see whether we can see if there's any issues with him. There's no saliva in his mouth, Jared, so he looks very clean to me. You can see that. Just a little adjustment doesn't freak him out, and I think he's good to go. There's no mites, no issues there. So I think if he passes the health check, the weight check, we will probably pair him later this week, and I'll show you the girls that I think are gagging for a lock at the moment. They're the ones with the big follicles, 13mm follicles. Now if you notice from Simon's little follicle chart, he started pairing at 13mm as well, Jared, back in January this year. Now we're lucky enough, we're in the beginning of October, so our girls are already well advanced, and that's a good sign, and that's why the ultrasound is a useful tool to have, because it allows you to pinpoint where your girls are. So if we look at our table up here, Jared, we've got the 2 girls that we want to put him to are, I think it was Binky Jester's 10 and Booby Noodles is 10, so they're both about 10 each, which is about right. Let's have a little look at them, Jared. See,
they're the double het Ultramel clowns, aren't they?
Yeah, have a look at them and see whether they are ready to go. She wants to eat, doesn't she? She wants to come out.
Yeah, they're ready to go.
Yeah, so they are ready to go. So yeah,
come on.
So, and I think she wants to eat out. She's building.
She's definitely exploring.
She definitely is looking at it.
And there's the other one.
And there's the other one. So I think this will probably be our first pairing this week, Jared.
Yeah, they're both ready to pair.
We can put these together, and I think it would be nice because we want to try and hit the Ultramel clowns, which are absolutely superb looking. I don't know whether we can find a picture of an Ultramel clown, Jared, but they are beautiful. I don't know if you can find that while I put these away. So that's probably going to be one of our first pairings that we'd like to look at. And then while you're doing that, I'm just going to look at the follicle chart to see who else was pretty big. So we've got Karamak was at 13mm. So
here's an Ultramel clown.
There's your Ultramel clown. Let's have a look at Karamak. She was at 13mm. And we did that, when did we do that? That was mid-September. So by now they've probably gone up a little bit more. But don't expect massive growth. It's going to be 2 or 3mm per month for the first 3 months. And then you'll get the exponential growth near the time. So let's just have a look at this girl. I think she's going into shed. Yeah, she's going into shed. But she's the one that's got the biggest follicles at the moment. And I think what we were planning to do there, Jared, is we were going to either put the same boy to her, which will then produce some Ultramel 100% het clowns. So everything would be 100% het for clown, and half of them will be Ultramel and half of them will be het Ultramel. So that could be a clever way of building up the project, to support the project. The other option we've got is we could put Colt to her, as we said, as a possibility, or we could actually go for the triple hets with her.
Yeah.
So I think I've got a list of the different options on Karamak. So when she shed out, and what's the reason for not pairing in shed, Jared, would you say?
They probably won't shed. They probably won't pair when they're in shed. They go into a little lockdown and they want to just shed out.
I have seen, and I didn't realise this, that I put a pair together last year, which I didn't realise were in shed, and they used each other to shed out. One of them shed out using the other snake to assist, and they actually shed out in the middle of the locking process. And I thought they will. The urge to breed is so strong; it can actually be stronger than being shed, Jared. Like some animals will still feed in shed, so
yeah.
Sometimes they can override that. I think the reason I don't do it is because the shedding process is a bit stressful for them. They've got to go through an adjustment. If you do too many things, like if you feed them, shed them, breed them all together in similar few days, that's a recipe for disaster because it just elevates the stress levels. So I think feeding them, give them 2 or 3 days to digest. It takes longer than that to digest, but the bulk of the digestion period will be taken care of in the first 3 days. Then you think about, do they need to shed? Allow them to shed, and then breed once they've gone through the digestion and the shedding process. I think it's better for stress management to then pair at that point and to tie that in with stormy weather and when the rain is coming and you know it and feel it. And I I think that's probably the way to go, checking the follicles, of course. So I think that's the process that we go through. And so I think she'll be the next girl that we'll consider doing the business. Now the other one we've got here, Jared, is Curiosity. Now she, if you come and look at her, she's been a bit of a dirty girl. We haven't cleaned her, but just look at the size of her, Jared. She gave us the Axanthic and the clown on those 2 eggs, but you can see she's pooed and shed out. She needs a good clean out. But she has bounced back so beautifully, Jared, that I think that we were talking about putting Thor to her to get the VPI Axanthics going into here. So let me just have a little look at Thor. He's going into shed as well. So I'll just pull him out. You can see he's in a shed mode. So I think the idea was to put the double het to her to be able to produce some visual VPIs that are then het for pied, but also potentially het for clown. Would that be a good call, Jad? So these two would probably end up pairing together. We'll clean her up, we'll get him out of shed, and then we'll check her follicles. Did we check her follicles last time, Jad? See what the size were? Let's have a look and see if they are on
7 mil.
She was 7 mil 2 weeks ago, so she's not far away. It wouldn't hurt to get a lock in there, it might stimulate her, and she's certainly built really well. The other thing I found of interest from Simon's perspective, and when he came over, when we went through the collection, I think he's helped us identify which Axanthic we may have on our 2.
Oh really?
Yeah, and I'll bring them both out, and then we'll just talk about how we can tell the Axanthic, okay? And be interesting to get our viewers out there who may have experienced something similar. But this particular Axanthic, Jared, is getting blacker and blacker. Now there is a genetic called the black Axanthic, which is actually the same as TSK, because the shed testing process, they've worked out that black Axanthic and TSK are compatible, even though they are 2 separate described lines. They are actually compatible. So I think we've either got TSK Axanthic or we've got what they call black Axanthic, because when he looked at the colour of the Mojave Axanthic, his eyes popped out and said, I believe you might have a black Axanthic here because it's getting blacker with each shed. And that's the thing that TSK can do, is that with each shed it gets darker and darker. So let's have a little look and see whether it's still showing that dark pattern. So she's got really dark, both, and this one's getting darker as well, to be honest with you. So I think they're both carrying the TSK, Jad, is my honest feeling.
Yeah, we've sent off a shed test, so...
Yeah. Now what I'll do is I'll follow up with our shed test to see whether that confirms it. And we've asked them to test for VPI and for TSK. So, now this is one of the benefits of actually building friendships in the community. Sometimes you get a fresh perspective from another breeder that comes in that can see things which we can't see. And I think in all humility, it's nice to be able to listen to other people as well and get their views. So I think we might be blessed to have TSK, Jad. Now I know that's not compatible with the VPI, but the fact is that if this is TSK, we know that this boy here, who's the father, Casper,
also TSK.
will be a TSK het for TSK. In fact, because he's a bell, we don't know whether he's fully TSK, do we? So
he's visual?
He might be a visual. So there's something to consider. We'll have to go back and check our records, but also on top of these 2, we've got 4 other bells that could be visual TSKs or hets. So we've got some really interesting things to work out here in our collection. So even though we've got a few VPIs, we may have more TSKs that are coming through the back door that we didn't realise we had. So we've got to be careful not to breed them together. Although there is a theory that says, could you imagine putting a TSK to a VPI Axanthic? Would it intensify the level of the Axanthic?
What, double visual?
You'd end up with a double visual. Now, people say avoid doing that because you can mix up the genes and never know where you're coming or going. But if you were to actually put all the Axanthics together with the right incomplete dominance, would that intensify the colours even more? Would it make the Axanthics even more Axanthic? And would you get the best of both worlds there? So it's an interesting one. And then you'd end up with a super Axanthic in a sense, so you'd have like a TSK and a VPI Axanthic in one animal, which means the versatility of that animal will allow you to bridge the projects. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So actually there could be some sense in that, by actually producing a TSK and a VPI, but with shed testing you can find out whether they're carrying both, and therefore you can then bridge your collection. But it could get really confusing, because then if you start breeding that into other animals, there'd be double het for those two. So you'd have to stay within the double het or the visual. You wouldn't want to move into 66% or 50%, so it would be a nightmare. But then with shed testing you could find out. So, but it just costs you more money. So I think shed testing opens up a new ball game, really, doesn't it, Jared?
Mm-hmm.
So, right, we'll put these back. So I think there is a good chance that we've got TSK here, Jared. And to be honest with you, I think that might be the case, but we'll find out when the shed tests come back. So
they're both nice animals either way.
Yeah. Yeah, Harry's dad fell in love with the snake as well, and I know we've got a few minutes, but the snake that he fell in love with was this beautiful. I'll bring it out because it was, to me, a very beautiful snake.
This is the pastel leopard.
And he loved the look of this one. And if I show you just how pretty he is, and he's well established, but he's carrying the Desert Ghost clown.
DG, het clown, post-het cryptic.
Exactly, but a pastel leopard. And I think Darren liked that. So they went for the banana OD, Jared, but this was the second close fill they wanted to come into. So beautiful animal. So in the last few minutes, Jared, last week we talked about what have we learned from last season, and we just was there anything else you wanted to share on what we've learned from our experiences over the last season, Jared? From breeding, we talked about small prey items.
I don't know what we spoke about.
Sorry? Well, we spoke about actually
feeding less but more bespoke.
Yes.
Feeding smaller items to the babies that are struggling.
Yeah, getting the
changing the bedding, air cooling.
Air quality, we've learnt to get better air quality is important, and since we've had the better air quality, it seems as though the snakes are appreciating that as well, Jared, as well as ourselves. So I think when you're growing your collection, in the early stages you don't need to worry too much about air quality because you only have a handful of snakes, and as long as you've got fresh window, you're fine. But when you get a big collection with everything pooing and weeing, it's a different ball game. So I think we're learning that, and I wish that we put this in place when we actually built the facility, because the electrician had to put in this tracking, which is not the most beautiful to have to watch, but Jared's got ideas of how to paint it grey. It'll be alright. We'd probably end up painting it grey, but if you were doing your electrics, you'd actually get it behind all the boards, and you wouldn't see all this.
You still could do it you have to fish the wires out, but
yeah, it was a lot of extra work and cost, so we went for this option. So I think if I was building a facility again, I would actually have these built in without any hesitation.
Yeah. And
it's working well, and I've been controlling it from my bedroom with my mobile phone, so I think that's been helpful. I've learned a lot about marketing and the importance to network, the importance to build friendships, the importance to have a local community. Families come into the facility, then they can recommend it to their friends, and what builds is your marketing builds with time, Jared. And I think the other thing I've learned is being connected to established breeders who can then introduce you to their friendship base. And I think getting out there and enjoying the people within the hobby, building good, trusting relationships is a very important part of the marketing side, because at the end of the day, you know, you're producing beautiful animals, but you've got to then find suitable homes for them, and you've also got to make sure that you're connected to the breeding community that would like to buy and trust you to buy from each other. So I think over time, Jared, I'm learning that we need to step up our marketing a little bit more, but I think overall we're doing well, and I'm pleased that we are selling snakes. I'm pleased that people appreciate what we're creating. Thank you all for your love and support. Thank you, Jared, for taking care of the video today. I'll leave you to clean while I go and pick up this radiator.
Kind of you, thank you. Can't wait.
But everyone have a wonderful day, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow. Bye for now.